Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Ryan's Trains. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend and an awesome weekday. And so today's video, since I talked about last time about my layout and showing the engines run at the Lionel Milwaukee Train Club, we're going to be revealing the newest addition to the fleet is the two Lionel Green Bay and Western rs-27s, 316 and the 318, and our oldest MTH is the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western rs-11. So let's cut on to those engine reviews, and I'll see you guys after that. What you guys see here is an MTH Proto Sound 3 rs-27 of the Green Bay and Western. It's got all of your functional MTH sounds. You have Proto Sound 3, anything that MTH has. Okay, I'm joking with you guys. This is a Lionel Legacy rs-27. It's got all of the advanced features and functions of the new Lionel. It's got the same mold as everything what you see as a Lionel and the MTH. The 316, the one thing I have problems with the 316 is that the speaker is kind of wonky on this, and you'll hear it. It makes a weird rattling sound, like the speaker is not firmly just in place. With Lionel, I did got this at Train World, but it's not Train World's fault. I think it's just mostly the people who built it, but I'll bring it to a store to get it fixed and see what's wrong with the speaker. But here's some history on the 316. The 316 was built for the Chicago Northwestern as 903. Later on, when the engine was done with the Chicago Northwestern, they retired the engine and sent it back to Alco. And Alco then used it as a demonstration unit. Later on, the Green Bay and Western wanted two rs-27s, 900 and 903, which you see here. 903 was the one that was pulled from the Alco demonstration unit, and the 900. They were sent to the Green Bay and Western, and once it arrived there, it was still in the Chicago Northwestern paint scheme. The only thing that it had was just a logo that said Green Bay en route, and its name still said 903. Later on, the engine was then put into the paint works and came out freshly brand new as Green Bay and Western 316. The 316 is now owned by Minnesota Commercial with the 318, and she's been running up there for a while now. And if you look closely where it says Minnesota Commercial, if you look closely, you will still see the Green Bay and Western logo on the engine. And let's hope that these engines get saved and put in preservation. And the one thing that's another nitpick I have is that the Green Bay and Western smokestacks with the rs-27s are right here. The engine smokestack is supposed to be backed by the fan housing, but I've seen with videos. So this is kind of a little bit wrong. I'm just going to nitpick because since this is the railroad I really love and its hometown history. But that's the only two things I have a problem with. But the engine sounds nice. It's still got the old MTH box that's inside. So everything is nice. So now let's cut on to the engine's history. The Alco rs-27 specification DL640 is a diesel-electric locomotive built by Alco between December 1959 and 1962. Only 27 examples are manufactured with Alco's introduction of the Century Series line. And the C424 specification DL64A was replaced by the rs-27 in the builder's catalog. Today, the Minnesota Commercial only has two rs-27s left in existence. Both are operational, and that is the 316 and the 318. So now we'll be cutting on to the 318, and I hope you guys enjoyed that review. And here we have the 318. The 318 was actually part of the Chicago Northwestern as 901 and returned by C&W to Alco. In 1970, it was purchased by an engineering company of later named the, I don't know how I could say that name, but it was, as 901, leased to the Canadian Pacific. Then it was purchased by the Green Bay and Western and leased by the Wisconsin Central to September and November. In 1993, it was traded to the Minnesota Commercial at 318, and the Green Bay and Western 315, 314, and 318 are only two, and an SW 1500, and with the 316. This engine has a lot of the same detail as the 316. Up here, right here, is still you got the access hatch where you could find the Bluetooth to pair the engine and to run the engine without the smoke unit. It's got amazing detail. It doesn't got any drawbars. It's got the same modern features as a legacy engine has. And it has all the same detail as a mold as with the MTH engine has. This engine is really highly detailed, and I love it a lot. Both these Green Bay and Westerns and these engines. So there wasn't a lot of history about this engine, but I couldn't find a lot about this engine since I only found it on a Google of the Green Bay and Western. But I'll show you guys next the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western rs-11, the 309. I'll give you guys some information and history on the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western and the Green Bay and Western. So here's the information and history about the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western. The Kewanee and Green Bay Western was constructed with the Lackawanna Trust with W.W. Cargyle backing. Is incorporated on May 19, 1990, for the purpose of moving cargo between port cities of Green Bay and Kewanee in Wisconsin. At the first, cargo was transferred between freight cars and steamships, mainly before long car ferries were equipped with rails on their decks, began transporting railroad cars themselves across the lake between Kewanee and Wisconsin and Frankfort and Lungington, Michigan. The Kewanee and Green Bay and Western also connected other rail lines such as the Annapolis Western at the Casco Junction in the Green Bay and Wynona and St. Paul, later the Green Bay and Western, and the Milwaukee Road to Chicago Northwestern in the Green Bay area, in the Pere Marquette Railway in Ann Arbor via car ferry at Kewanee. In 1869, the Kewanee and Green Bay Western, along with the GBW SP, were sold at a group of the East Coast local investors and operate together as the Green Bay Lines. The merger will be fully completed in 1969 when the Kewanee and Green Bay Western was fully absorbed by the Green Bay route. Since that was the story of the Kewanee and Green Bay Western, let's now go on to the Green Bay Western. The Green Bay Western's reporting marks for the GBW served in the central Wisconsin for almost 100 years before it was absorbed into Wisconsin Central in 1993. For much of its history, the railroad was also known as the Green Bay Route. At the end of the 1970s, it operated 255 miles of road and 322 miles of track. That year, it's been reported as it hauled 317 million tons of miles of revenue freight. The Green Bay and Western was formed in 1869 from the bankruptcy processed by the Green Bay, Wynona and St. Paul, and the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western. Existing routes were originally built by the Green Bay and Lake Pipe Railroad, linking Green Bay and Wisconsin, East Wynona, and Wisconsin formed a bulk of a new railroad. The Green Bay and Western acquired on the 1st August of 1906 a major share interest in the Annapolis Western. The GBW established in 1929 Western Refrigeration Lines, WRX2, operate 500 fleet cars of reefers. Passenger traffic ceased in 1949. The line carried 5,000 early passengers in 1870s, and 1959 only 1,000 of 1974 have reverted to mixed trains. The Green Bay Western sold off the Annapolis Western to Varmont and Bushman to a group of private investors. On May 37, 1947, the corporation purchased the Green Bay Western in 1978. The Green Bay Western and the Fox Valley Railroad were merged into the new Wisconsin Central subsidiary, the Fox River Valley. On August 27, 1993, Wisconsin Central was turned and purchased by the Canadian National in 2001. So here we guys have my first MTH Proto Sound 3, not really my first, but my first one in the Green Bay and Western. But this one is Kewaunee and Green Bay and Western. I'll give you a little history about why the Green Bay and Western was called Kewaunee and Green Bay and Western. So the Green Bay and Western, before they became the Green Bay and Western, there was a railroad called the Anapian Western Railroad that went through my hometown all the way through Luxembourg, Casco, Algoma, and that's where that part of the town was. The county was called Kewaunee, and that railway was part of they're both working together, the Green Bay route and the Kewaunee, so they're both working together, locomotives. And the front, if you could, no, it's on the front, it's actually on the back. Let me show you guys. If you could see, it says Kewaunee in Green Bay and Western 309. And the reason why you guys are thinking, well, then why does this one have a white stripe on it than the 316 sitting back there? Well, this was an earlier paint scheme of the Green Bay and Western had. The Green Bay and Western had this white stripe on it because they had enough money to afford it with the 309. And later on, they were going through financial troubles with running out of money. That's when they started to paint the engines just red and black, not with the white stripes. The 309 retained this color before the Green Bay and Western decided to remove it. Since the engine was a long hood forward locomotive, they ripped that out to make it go short hood forward. And what they did is they chopped this down to a low hood. Basically, so like you see like how this engine is, that's a low hood. They basically chopped that down to look like that, and the 309 was basically like that for a while. And after the Green Bay and Western was over with, they sold this engine to another railroad, and it was run on their rail line for a while until it got in a severe accident where the 309 went off a bridge into a ditch. The engine was too wedged in there, and the engine was sadly scrapped during that time. But here is some information and some history on the Kewaunee and Green Bay and Western 309. The Kewaunee and Green Bay and Western 309 was not a 7 years old when this photo was taken. The locomotive shows off its classic red and gray paint of this paint scheme under a wonderful Wisconsin summer sky. This was the only rs-11 on the Green Bay and Western's roster. The engine was least than popular with the crews. Apparently, they would go out of their way to make sure that 309 wasn't in their contest, or at least the lead unit. The first more modern Alco C420 arrived the same month as this photo was taken. The shop crews in Norwood recognized the shortcoming of the rs-11 in 1964. It was rebuilt into a 2,100 horsepower engine with a short hood and was previously rawhide, a long hood forward that you could see a small F on the front and a checkerboard frame in this photo. The check out this composite pulp wood car behind the engine was the most important. The Kewaunee, Green Bay, and Western was the last engine to have the reporting marks before the division was completely merged into the Green Bay and Western in 1969. The locomotive leased unit of the end of the Green Bay and Western 1993 was sold to, I don't know how to spell that word, I think Bearville and Southern, and it was wrecked in 1999 on the KBS and now being cannibalized for parts. And which is a sad story, but we have a special guest on here with us today with me reviewing engines, and it is our train cat. She never comes down here a lot, but if you could see her, she's just sitting down here enjoying the trains. But since we got the reviewing done with the engines, it's time for you guys to sit back and relax and enjoy these three amazing locomotives run. So I'll see you guys after that, and I hope you guys enjoy this awesome video. Side note, so here's my Green Bay and Western car fleet. This is a MTH Green Bay and Western Kewaunee coal car, and I don't know the item number this is, but this Only a few of these remain, so these are really rare to find. I got these both in Milwaukee. And here's the next one, the 406, that is Kewanee and Green Bay and Western. A Weaver yellow hopper that says Green Bay and Western. And coming on to over here, we have a MTH hopper that says the Green Bay and Western. And the same one over here, just a different road number, the Green Bay and Western. And here we got an MTH Green Bay and Western reefer that I got. And over here is an Atlas boxcar that says the Green Bay and Western. And here's a custom boxcar I got at a train show that is based on a prototype of what the Green Bay and Western had. And it is a Green Bay and Western boxcar. I'm planning to get one. Atlas made one of these, and I'm planning to find one, just really hard to find. And here's my first Green Bay and Western car I ever got. The Green Bay and Western, since in the Green Bay, we have our NFL team, the Packers. And this one is been used because I got it off for $50. It was used for one of our train club members. So that's why it's been kind of used. And over here, we're going to be passing this. This is one of our newest cars, the Pabst Milwaukee car. The Sioux line, since I had this since it's a Wisconsin car. And another Green Bay and Western that is a different one made from Atlas. That is the 503 that says Home of the Packers. So here's just the rolling stock we'll be using for the trains, and I'll see you guys in the running session. Side note, I forgot to mention this engine has 5 changeable horns, so you'll be cutting into the 5 changeable horns on the 316. It's the same horns on the 318 as well, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But here's the loudspeaker rattling sounds what I've been talking about.
the dispatcher. Get us set up running. Your train will be ready at 17:30. Over. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out. Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over. One inbound against you. Hold for the signal. Out. Air test is good. Ready to pull. Anybody else going to be out there with you? No, that I've heard. I haven't sign out. Out.
One. Well, thank you guys for coming around and watching this awesome video of these amazing Lionel rs-27s that are XMTH. It's amazing to see older models that Lionel has purchased from MTH to come back in the modern day market. It was really amazing. These MTH models were made back in the 90s or the 2000s with only Proto Sound 1. It's amazing seeing them back in the modern day, showing that older models can be re-upgraded to run again. And that's the amazing thing I like. And I hope you guys enjoyed those two locomotives running and enjoying a bit of history on the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western MTH Proto Sound 3. She's an amazing locomotive. She blows a lot of smoke out, but in this video, she wasn't doing that as much since I only gave her a small bit of smoke fluid. And those MTHs with those little small smokestacks is really difficult to get the smoke fluid down there and get those locomotives running. But thank you guys for coming around to watch this awesome review. And I want to say thank you all for 103 subscribers. That means a lot to this channel and to you guys. It makes me really happy. And, well, not really happy. It makes me really grateful. I'm grateful for it. Really grateful for that, guys and girls. And thank you all for watching this video. Have an awesome weekend and an awesome Friday. Take care, and I'll see you guys next weekend. Have an awesome day. Take care.